He was a hero who saved another world, now hiding as a chef on Earth. His biggest problem wasn't monsters, but a fiery-tempered dragon demanding the return of a priceless artifact. Little did they know, this explosive encounter was just the start. It all kicked off with a frantic announcement crackling over a car radio. A pack of monsters had just appeared downtown. And of all the days, of all the monsters, it had to be Beltos. Think of them as oversized, incredibly angry chickens having a very bad day. You'd expect a tough fight, right? Nope. The entire ferocious flock was wiped out in a flash, dealt with by one unlikely man. So when the professional Awakeners, the elite team assigned to handle the threat, finally arrived, they were just left standing there, completely stunned. Their only guess? Some hidden S-class powerhouse must have been secretly dispatched to clean up before they even got there. But that was the problem. It made absolutely zero sense. To eliminate an entire Belto flock in one clean sweep and vanish without a trace? After all, no one in the country had the raw talent to pull off something like that. Well, unbeknownst to them, that someone was none other than Kang CheolHo, a man who now ran a humble little restaurant in the very area that had just been attacked. Normally, CheolHo avoided this kind of chaos. But today, the smell of fresh Belto meat, known for making the juiciest, most mouth-watering steaks imaginable, proved too tempting. He took matters into his own hands, slaying the beast and hauling a premium cut back to his kitchen. Just as he was preparing to turn the fresh meat into a new dish, an unexpected visitor arrived. A representative from the Awakener Association had come by to check on CheolHo, following reports of the Belto incident. The rep seemed surprised to find the man completely unbothered. For CheolHo, this kind of thing had become so routine, it might as well have been just another Tuesday. But as the two spoke, the rep suddenly caught a whiff of something incredible, an aroma so rich and savory that he couldn't help but follow it. It was coming straight from CheolHo's kitchen. Compelled by the scent, he asked if the restaurant was open. CheolHo, ever the welcoming host, didn't turn him away. As the guest stepped inside, he immediately noticed the place's spotless interior. So clean and refined, it looked more like a film set than a real restaurant. Settling in, the rep requested a menu, but was met with a surprise. There was no menu. At CheolHo's place, meals depended entirely on the ingredients available that day. Today's special? Fresh Belto steak. The moment the rep heard Belto, he nearly choked. After all, those were the same creatures that had just terrorized the area. But all credit, he believed, went to the great warrior Master Gamu, who had allegedly taken them down in a flash. CheolHo said nothing to correct him. He simply nodded and gave thanks to the mysterious hero. He had no interest in fame. His focus was on the meat, exquisite, flavorful, and perfect when grilled just right. The mention of steak did make the rep a bit nervous. Steak, after all, wasn't cheap, and he wasn't sure if his wallet was up for it. But before he could worry too much, CheolHo picked up a cleaver and began slicing flawless portions, seasoning them only with salt and pepper. Letting the meat speak for itself. As the aroma intensified, the scene momentarily fades to a memory from nearly 30 years ago. Back then, Kang CheolHo had awakened not on Earth, but in an entirely different world, a cursed land teeming with dragons and flesh-eating beasts. Survival was brutal until one day, luck turned his way. He unlocked immense strength, enough to make even the dragons tremble. He eventually rose high enough to defeat the Demon King himself. That hard-fought victory earned him a passage home. But Earth wasn't the same place he had left behind. It too had been invaded by monsters. Despite the chaos, CheolHo had made up his mind. After 3 decades of non-stop battles, he was finished with killing. Fortunately, the rise of Awakeners, ordinary people who suddenly gained supernatural powers, allowed humanity to fight back. With new heroes stepping in to protect the world, CheolHo's role on the front lines was no longer necessary. And so he chose a new path, one of peace, purpose, and perfect flavor. He became a chef. And from that day on, all he wanted was to cook damn good food. As the backstory unfolds, the Belto steak is finally ready to be served. The dish looks absolutely mouth-watering, perfectly grilled, glistening with juices and rich with aroma. The guest, barely able to contain his excitement, stares at the plate with wide eyes and a gaping mouth, practically drooling. He hadn't expected anything like this. Just moments ago, he was dealing with monsters and chaos, and now, here he was, face to face with what looked like a five-star gourmet meal. Unable to resist, he takes his first bite, and instantly his eyes widen in shock. The flavors hit him like a tidal wave. The meat is tender and juicy, with just the right balance of spice and acidity. It's a sensory explosion. There's something poetic about it. The very Beltos that had him running ragged all day were now lifting his spirits, one bite at a time. Before he knows it, he's devouring the entire plate, savoring each piece until there's nothing left but a clean dish and a satisfied sigh. With his appetite finally sated, it's time to settle the bill. But luck seems to be on his side. To his surprise, CheolHo informs him that first-time customers aren't charged. The rep is stunned. A meal of this quality, essentially free? It's unbelievable. Revitalized from head to toe, the man is already thinking about his next visit. Still, he insists on paying something for the incredible meal. Seeing his persistence, CheolHo agrees to take a modest $10. The guest hands it over without hesitation, clearly grateful. Before leaving, the rep turns serious for a moment. He urges CheolHo to stay safe. These are dangerous times for non-awakeners, and with monsters roaming freely, even a quiet restaurant could be at risk. He advises Kang to evacuate at the first sign of trouble and hands over his business card, just in case. Compared to a few years ago, when this area was a wasteland, it's heartening to see cafes, bars, and markets springing back to life. As he walks out, the rep reminds the chef that he's only a call away if anything goes wrong. CheolHo watches him leave, reflecting on how difficult this era has become for ordinary folks without powers. He feels a deep respect for people like the association agent, those who put their lives on the line for the public good. Then, turning back to his kitchen, he samples his own dish. The moment the flavor hits his tongue, he nods with satisfaction. The day is winding down, night is falling, and it looks like it's about time to close up shop. But before calling it a day, he gets an idea. Why not make a snack out of the bell-toe eggs he brought back earlier? As he ponders the perfect way to highlight the flavor of one particular egg, the peaceful moment is shattered. The door bursts open. A stranger storms in, slamming the entrance behind him. No greetings, no politeness, just shouting. His tone is angry, his words a blur of accusations and frustration. CheolHo is caught off guard. He has no idea who this man is or what he wants. And just like that, a new chapter begins. It turned out the angry stranger wasn't just venting, he was there to claim what he believed rightfully belonged to him. But to understand why, we need to rewind the clock a few hours and shift the scene to the Sodaman traditional market. The market was alive with the usual bustle. Peddlers shouting over each other, stalls overflowing with whatever rare ingredients could still be found. Since the rise of monster activity, traditional livestock and fresh vegetables had become nearly impossible to come by. Even the most basic ingredients were now considered luxury items. Kang CheolHo was moving quietly through the crowd, scouting for supplies to restock his kitchen. These days, humanity had been forced to adapt. With natural food sources dwindling, people had no choice but to explore alternatives. Chief among them, monster meat. Although many were hesitant at first, the tide had slowly begun to turn. Some were drawn in by the surprisingly rich taste, others by the affordability. And while the stubborn few still clung to lab-grown meat and synthetic vegetables, it was clear. Nothing beat the flavor of real monster ingredients. This shift in taste had made the Sodaman monster market a booming hotspot. Among the many stalls, one peddler was offering a batch of what he claimed were fresh bell-toe eggs. But even he couldn't be entirely sure. Monster eggs often looked nearly identical, and without verification, it was easy to be fooled. That's where Kang had the upper hand. Before making a purchase, he activated one of his trusted abilities. Detect Eyes, a skill he had stolen from Kane's, a silver dragon and former ruler of the northern mountain range in his previous life. The ability allowed him to scan and identify the stats and origins of nearly anything or anyone. It was one of the most valuable tools he had ever acquired, snatched during the climactic battle against the Demon King, and it remained one of his most relied-on assets to this day. As he focused on the eggs, a string of notifications appeared before his eyes. Only one of the eggs was truly from a Belto. The rest? Completely different monsters, likely cheap substitutions. Yet another scam by market peddlers trying to sell third-rate goods at premium prices. Just as he was wrapping up the purchase, one egg in particular caught his attention. Unlike the others, this one triggered nothing from his artifact. No stats, no name, no origin. Complete silence. The artifact's inability to read it immediately raised a flag. Intrigued, Kang decided to buy that egg as well. Something about it felt rare. Valuable, even. Later that evening, back at his restaurant, he cracked open one of the verified Belto eggs and prepared a simple yet flavorful scrambled dish. The combination of the rich Belto yolk and a splash of CheolHo milk produced a creamy, savory masterpiece. With each bite, he was transported, back to the battlefield, back to the camaraderie of friends now long gone, and back to those fleeting moments when a good meal was the only comfort in a war-torn world. But soon his attention shifted back to the mysterious egg, the one even his dragon-forged artifact couldn't read. He knew one thing for certain. Dragon artifacts were formed naturally as part of their awakening, and while dragons could exert influence over lesser creatures, they couldn't affect their own kind. Which raised a chilling possibility. This egg might belong to something on the same level as a dragon, or perhaps something even greater. That's probably why the Detect Eyes artifact had failed. It couldn't read the egg because it belonged to a dragon. Talk about unbelievable luck. Kang CheolHo had unknowingly stumbled upon something incredibly rare. A genuine dragon's egg. As he pondered what kind of dish could possibly do justice to such a legendary ingredient, the front door slammed open. The red-haired stranger from earlier stormed in, yelling and demanding what he claimed was rightfully his. Kang immediately sensed something strange. Just like the dragon egg, his artifact couldn't read any data on this man either. The realization hit him. This fiery intruder had to be a dragon in human form. When Kang calmly asked him to confirm his identity, the man exploded in rage, flames flaring around him as he demanded to know how Kang had figured it out. Unfazed, Kang warned him to calm down before he scorched the place, but the dragon wasn't backing down. He wanted answers, and he wanted them now. Not wanting a fight that would turn his spotless restaurant into a battlefield, Kang admitted to possessing the Detect Eyes artifact, which could read the stats of anything, except dragons. Then something else caught the dragon's eye. A knife forged from blue dragon scales, a powerful relic, now used as nothing more than a kitchen tool. On the counter was a cutting board made from dragon bone. The sight of these items, so carelessly used for cooking, pushed the dragon into a rage. To him, it was an unforgivable insult. He let out a roar, flames intensifying with fury. Kang, however, sighed in annoyance. He knew this would turn into a mess. The dragon hurled a massive blue fireball straight at him. But without missing a beat, Kang grabbed a frying pan and smacked the flaming orb out of the air like it was nothing. In a blur of godlike speed, he closed the gap between them and slapped the dragon across the face with the same frying pan. The blow didn't just leave a mark. It triggered something deep inside the dragon, a long-buried memory. Back in the previous world, Kang, known there as Miro Lace, had once stood before the Dragon King and demanded the artifact now known as Detect Eyes. At the time, he was in a rush to defeat the Demon King, and negotiation wasn't on the table. The dragon before him now, just a child back then, had watched as Kang faced down his father, Ekmon Rex, and took the artifact by force. Snapping back to the present, Kang calmly ordered the redhead to clean the floor before things escalated any further. Reluctantly, the dragon grabbed a mop and bucket and began scrubbing away the scorch marks, all while casting angry side glances at the man who had once humbled his family. As the fiery stranger cleaned, Kang asked where he was from. He was curious how someone like this knew so much about the Detect Eyes artifact. The answer revealed even more. The dragon confessed that he had been born in the continent of Ispan, the same place where Kang had fought the Demon King decades ago. He had crashed into this new world through a dimensional rift. At that moment, Kang formally introduced himself, not just as the man who ran a restaurant, but as the former warrior once feared across continents. Miro Leyes, now going by Kang CheolHo in this world. Under Kang's watchful eye, the dragon finally finished cleaning the place, good as new. As he prepared to leave with the dragon egg in hand, he had one final question. Why had Kang never returned the artifact after defeating the Demon King? Kang asked for a name, and the redhead gave it, Ekman Rex. Of course, Kang remembered him. That explained the familiar aura. No wonder the kid had seemed so recognizable. He was Ekman Rex's son. Sensing the younger dragon's fear, Kang reassured him. He wouldn't hurt him. After all, he'd stopped beating up dragons 30 years ago. But the dragon remained wary. To him, Kang didn't look like someone who had aged 3 decades. Curious, Kang asked the dragon how old he was. The answer came quickly, 50. In response, Kang casually revealed that he was 60, older, wiser, and stronger. The dragon clearly didn't buy it. No way a 60-year-old human could look that youthful. Then, in typical Kang fashion, he offered the furious dragon a drink. The invitation, however, felt like an insult. Sharing drinks with a mere human? That didn't sit well with the proud dragon, but eventually he gave in and got absolutely wasted. In his drunken state, the dragon boasted that Kang was the first human in existence privileged enough to share a drink with a dragon. Kang, unimpressed, simply shrugged. Then came a bold question. Kang asked who laid the egg, considering the redhead looked far too young for that kind of thing. "I'm male," he snapped. "Male dragons don't lay eggs." It turned out the egg wasn't his child. It was his younger sibling. A dimensional rift had torn open near their lair while their parents were away, and the two of them had fallen into this world. They had been stranded here ever since, for 6 months. Curious, the dragon asked about Kang's own journey. Back in his spawn, there had been rumors he vanished after defeating the Demon King. Where had he gone during all that missing time? Kang simply said he had something important to do, and once it was done, he returned to Earth. The dragon pressed further, asking why someone as powerful as Kang was running a tiny, low-traffic restaurant instead of saving the world. With his strength, he could have taken over the planet or crushed the monsters terrorizing humanity without breaking a sweat. Kang didn't argue. He acknowledged that humans could be exactly as the dragon described. Power-hungry, selfish, constantly at war. After 30 years of non-stop battles, he no longer craved power or glory. All he wanted now was a quiet life. The redhead didn't quite believe him. To him, Kang was just another unpredictable human. Before they parted ways, Kang told him to take good care of his one and only sibling. And judging by the way the dragon cradled the egg in his arm, it was clear he cared deeply. Not long after, the egg began to shake, and then it hatched. The newborn dragon, small and bright-eyed, broke free from her shell and stretched her wings for the very first time. Kang asked the proud brother if he'd named her yet. He hadn't. For now, he was simply calling her Hatchling. When asked about the hatchling's gender, the redhead confirmed. She was a girl. The little one already had tiny teeth and bore a slight resemblance to a millet, making Kang wonder if dragons were born omnivorous. The redhead clearly adored her. Holding her close in this unfamiliar world, his usual arrogance gave way to something more vulnerable. Sensing this, Kang asked casually if they had any place to stay on Earth. The dragon didn't answer. That silence said enough. They were homeless. Kang predicted what would come next. Sure enough, the dragon hesitated, then asked if Kang offered lodging services. Kang could relate. Though dragons were proud and mighty, even they could feel isolation and fear in a foreign world. To thank Kang, the redhead offered a grade 4 mage stone, a treasure of immense value even in this world. But Kang couldn't help laughing, not out of disrespect, but at the absurdity of such a formal gift after everything. Meanwhile, the baby dragon, still hungry, asked for more food. She was a bottomless pit in dragon form. Living with a baby dragon might end up being more troublesome than surviving in a monster-ridden world. He thought back to his time in Espan and the one he shared drinks with, a long-haired figure whose voice still echoed in his memories. Despite originally refusing to offer them lodging, Kang made a quiet decision. He would let the two dragons stay for a couple of days, free of charge. The redhead dragon was starting to feel the pressure. Kang CheolHo had done way too many favors. Sensing this, Kang thought for a moment, then pointed to the ground. A glowing crack opened at his feet, a dimensional portal leading to his personal subspace. This wasn't just some storage vault, it was an entire dimension managed by Kasim, the immortal goblin. As soon as the portal opened, Kasim greeted him with reverence.
"It's been a while, my king," he said, bowing low.
Now, for a low-ranking monster, this goblin was ridiculously dripped out. Bling, robes, attitude, you name it. Kang casually brought up the magic stone inventory. Without hesitation, Kasim revealed the numbers. An almost endless supply of stones in total. 5 of the highest quality stones ever, and about 120 high-ranking grade ones. Without blinking, Kang tossed the stone toward Kasim, who caught it and quietly added it to the collection. Meanwhile, the redhead dragon stood speechless nearby. To him, those top-tier stones were legendary. Yet here was Kang, treating them like pocket change. With that done, Kang turned back to the dragon and wasted no time handing him a list of chores. Time skipped to the next morning. The baby dragon was sleeping peacefully, completely out cold, despite explosions and chaos rumbling just outside. Kang, however, was anything but calm. He was thoroughly annoyed with her older brother. Kang's new goal was simple: train the dragon to control his fire breath. Not just spew it recklessly, but to concentrate it, precise and focused. He's got a skewer with a slab of meat. The dragon torches the meat to a beautiful color, perfecting what Kang was looking for. The dragon also pretty shocked by the kind of rapier, because even though it's used as a skewer here, it is unaffected by the breath of a dragon. This weapon called the Recapel shaft that could be considered one of the greatest weapons in the entire world. But hilariously, Kang's out here using his best inventory as kitchenware. The dragon is a bit annoyed that he is inaccurately using the weapons, but Kang taunts him that he's still utilizing his inventory, unlike dragons who just hoard. Meanwhile, Choi, the public servant, returned to the dinner, excited by the food and surprised that Kang had a new employee. He then shared news about a newly appeared Grade 5 dungeon. Top teams like Sang-hoo's and Cheon's were being deployed, confirming how serious the threat was. Kang reflected on how dungeons connected dimensions, just like how he and Khan arrived in this world. Out at the market, Kang overheard raid recruitment and spotted Sang-hoo, confirming Choi's info. He noted how this world now operated like a fantasy RPG, with too many DPS-type Awakeners and not enough tanks or healers. It reminded him of Choi's sadness over how many people lacked the power or rank to join raids. Back at the diner, a broke man shyly asked for ramen. Kang, noticing his struggle, welcomed him and charged only $2. The man ordered 5 bowls, catching Kang's attention. Using Detect Eyes, he discovered the man's class: God of Food, a rare ability that grows stronger with high-quality meals. Though the man was unskilled, Kang generously served him an extra-large ramen with ataho meat for free, showing kindness to someone who clearly had it rough. Later, the man stumbled across a dimensional gate and tried to join the raid, but was rejected for being underqualified. That's when he saw his daughter, Mijin, serving as a healer. He scolded her for being there, but she lashed out, hurt by his absence and ashamed of his useless class. She stormed off after dropping a necktie gift box he had brought. As Kang cleaned his blade, he reflected on the class system: 5 official ranks, plus a 6th that he alone had reached. He noted that while some people are born with weak skills, growth depends on how they adapt. Suddenly, Khan rushed in with great news. His little sister had said her first word. The word Papa come out. The baby dragon had named herself Keol, declaring herself a resident of this world. Kang's heart melted. She was already born with a mastered class. Now they just had to discover what it was. And as she clung to him, repeating Papa, it became clear. This wasn't just a diner anymore. It was a home. The troubled visitor returned. It was the same man from before. He quietly ordered ramen again while Kang CheolHo sat across from him, and Khan prepared the meal. The man shared his painful story how his daughter, Mijin, was working herself to exhaustion just to earn a scholarship. He wanted to help her, but couldn't. Mijin, on the other hand, was already a third-class healer. Top grades, impressive potential, a rising star in the association. He confessed that during his first visit to the diner, he actually planned to attend her school's observation day. but couldn't afford proper clothes. He just bought a necktie. It was pathetic, but it was all he could do. Now breaking down in front of Kang, he admitted that even in misery he was starving. Hearing this, Kang stood up with a serious look and creepily asked Khan if it was okay to fatten him up. Khan panicked, thinking he'd end up in a pot, but Kang laughed it off as a joke. Noticing CheolHo recently shed skin, Kang decided to use it in the meal. Despite Khan's protests, he wanted it as a keepsake. The result? A mouth-watering Ataho extra-large ramen, similar to what the man had last time, only richer, deeper in flavor. Kang told him to eat as much as he wanted, and silently he watched as the man devoured every bite. After finishing, the man paid and thanked Kang not just for the food, but for being someone who listened when he needed it most. Before leaving, Kang shared a piece of advice, something worth remembering. Life's hard for everyone, but those who work hard every day eventually, they run into good fortune. He encouraged the man to try again tomorrow and promised he'd always be here like a reliable shoulder. Unbeknownst to the man, the meal had been infused with the dragon's shed skin, something that would significantly enhance his growth. Khan was puzzled. Why go so far for a stranger? Kang gently touched CheolHo's soft cheek and replied, his father had once lived a life just like that. Maybe that's why. Later that night, Manhwa returned home and found Mijin asleep. To his surprise, she had brought the necktie home. When she awoke, she immediately apologized for what she had said to him earlier. Tearfully, she confessed her guilt for lashing out. Manhwa responded with quiet care, ashamed of how much he had failed her, but still full of love. The following morning, he rushed to a new job site. The recruiter recognized him immediately. Kim Manhwa, the man who had previously failed during the Yongdongpo dungeon incident. He was warned not to repeat his past mistakes, though this time the Zanaku team had his back. As the raid began, a surge of dark energy erupted from the dungeon gate. Even the seasoned spear mage Sang-hoo appeared uneasy. The reports had underestimated the situation. A hidden boss had spawned inside. Within the dungeon, designed like a dense forest, Manhwa was ambushed by a raptor-like monster. Surprisingly, he defeated it with a reflexive uppercut. He felt stronger, focused, no hunger or fatigue. Then the ground shook violently. A monstrous Tigrex emerged, roaring. The team panicked and scattered. Spotting mana crystals from the raptor, Manhwa dashed toward them and was launched across the field by the boss's headbutt. Flat on the ground, he recalled Mijin's face and voice. Those memories fueled him. He stood again, determined not to leave her alone in the world. He fought back, unleashing a powerful punch. In that moment, his class evolved to Shikshin, a tank DPS hybrid. When the boss charged again, Manhwa held its jaws open with both hands. Just then, Sang-hoo's team arrived, stunned to see a former nobody resisting a grade 2 boss alone. Sang-hoo was so impressed, he asked for Manhwa's business card. News quickly spread. Manhwa had evolved to grade 3, earned MVP, and was officially recognized. Back at the diner, CheolHo had grown noticeably heavier and was still calling Kang Papa. He denied it, but her sweet gaze always disarmed him. The news reported a mana crystal thief targeting shops in Seodaman. Kang chuckled until CheolHo brought him a cup of water. Touched, he nearly drank it, until Khan yelled at him to stop. Apparently, CheolHo had read about wells in an illustrated book. The issue? She had filled the cup using toilet water, thinking it was the same thing. Kang's expression froze in horror. Later, Choi returned, delighted by Kang's new kakukoi dish. Manhwa entered too clean, confident, and accompanied by Sang-hoo. Choi was stunned, and Sang-hoo surprised to see a government agent at the diner. It turned out Manhwa, now known as the Shikshin warrior, had earned his new name through his actions. While Manhwa devoured his usual ramen, Sang-hoo was impressed and encouraged him to visit Mijin's school instead of lingering. He gave the man a day off. Once Manhwa left, Kang noted how peaceful things had become until he saw Sang-hoo asleep in his chair. Then came a flashback. Sang-hoo furious that Kang had provoked a divine creature. The beast responded with a malicious smile and ignited its ferocious flames.
Sang-hoo startled awake, looking around the diner. Aside from Kang CheolHo, who was calmly reading a newspaper, the place was empty. He casually asked Kang if there was any alcohol available. Kang replied that he only had soju on hand. Hearing that, Sang-hoo asked if he could prepare a side dish, something fitting for the rainy weather. Kang thought for a moment and suggested sashimi. He explained that ever since the monster invasions, the situation in the ocean had become as dire as it was on land. Fish had become scarce, and chefs now used sea monsters with similar textures and flavors as substitutes. For the dish, Kang used a creature known as German fish as the raw material. With practiced hands, he sliced the flesh with care, removing the bones and arranging the slices into a beautiful presentation that resembled a gourmet platter. Sang-hoo's eyes widened in amazement. He took one bite, and the taste of the ocean flooded his senses. The freshness and smooth texture melted away his fatigue almost instantly. It paired perfectly with the soju. Feeling recharged, Sang-hoo smiled and told Kang he had 2 days off. He explained that for the past 2 years, his days had been filled with nothing but fighting monsters. The constant battle through endless dimensional rifts had left him mentally drained. He showed Kang his personal weapon, a spear that could absorb mana. In his younger days, he had been proud of his power, until reality humbled him. He had learned the hard way that no matter how strong you are, there's always someone stronger. He mentioned that he had been stationed in Seodaemon for almost a decade. Hearing that, Kang also reminisced about his past, admitting that he, too, wasn't always as composed as he is now. Time and experience had humbled him as well. While Sang-hoo sipped his drink, Kang asked if he had any particularly memorable moments in his career of monster hunting. Sang-hoo paused, then asked if Kang knew about the Gumiho, the legendary nine-tailed fox. As he spoke, the scene shifted to a flashback. Sang-hoo recalled a mission where a team had been dispatched because someone had disturbed a Gumiho's slumber. These creatures, known for their high intelligence and mystical powers, were classified as beyond-grade beings. They were sacred, territorial, and peaceful, so long as humans left them alone. But someone had provoked the Gumiho. The team believed a mysterious gentleman was responsible, though they never confirmed his identity. In retaliation, the Gumiho went on a rampage, unleashing a wave of hellfire across the area. As the battle unfolded, Sang-hoo's team charged in. The Gumiho retaliated with its tail fire, an ability that caused hallucinations in anyone who looked directly at it. One of Sang-hoo's teammates managed to block the attack and began casting a spell. Sang-hoo used the resulting energy path to leap forward and launch the final blow. The strike killed the Gumiho, but as the battle ended, Sang-hoo heard something, a cub's cry. It turned out the gentleman had released eagles to hunt down the Gumiho's newborn cub. The baby fox had been defenseless. In the end, the cub was eliminated as well, and the incident was officially concluded. Back in the present, Sang-hoo thanked Kang for the meal, stood up, paid the bill, and left. On his way home, memories of confronting the mysterious gentleman resurfaced, though the scene quickly shifted back to the present. Meanwhile, Kang reflected in silence. He recalled the Gumiho from his time in the Asfen continent. They were seen as guardian spirits of the mountains, revered by the people. He had once slain 2 of them, and now he regretted it. The scene returned to Sang-hoo, who suddenly noticed 3 floating orbs of fire hovering in the air. They looked eerily similar to the Gumiho's tail fire,
and the sight left him with an unsettling chill.
Small footsteps emerged from the forest. It was the sound of a fox cub. The 3 floating fireballs revealed themselves to belong to this little creature, the same fox cub that Sang-hoo had once chosen not to kill out of pity. The cub began to nibble on the food near Master Sang-hoo, and it was then clear that the culprit behind the recent mana crystal thefts was none other than this fox cub. Though Sang-hoo was visibly irritated, he gently picked the cub up and sternly warned him. This kind of behavior couldn't continue. In a firm voice, he ordered the cub to leave the city to avoid further trouble. When the cub refused to go, Sang-hoo reluctantly threatened him with a spear, forcing the poor creature to flee. Despite his harsh words, Sang-hoo looked deeply saddened.
he hadn't truly wanted to send the cub away. As the fox cub wandered through the city, he spotted something amusing. CheolHo, performing some odd experiment and hilariously stuck to a window. Curious and unafraid, CheolHo opened the window and invited the cub inside, calling out to Kang. The little cub gently touched CheolHo's soft cheek, associating the sensation with kindness. When Kang entered and found the two playing, the cub quickly hid. Kang wasn't surprised. He had sensed the energy of a gumiho for a while, and now understood the source. Realizing that the fox cub was hungry, he opened his subspace portal. Inside, Kasim the goblin, who managed the vault, greeted him. At Kang's command, Kasim retrieved a high-grade mana crystal, one of the finest in storage. The fox cub devoured it eagerly, and as he did, the crystal's energy merged harmoniously with his body. Satisfied and full, the fox cub was escorted out by Kang, with CheolHo waving goodbye. That night, as the cub gazed at the city lights, he quietly muttered his thoughts. He knew Master Sang-hoo had a kind heart, even if they'd never meet again. Tears welled up in his eyes. Meanwhile, under the starlit sky, Sang-hoo whispered his final words. "Live well, and don't come back." The next morning, the Korean Awakener Association was introduced. Among the Grade 2 Awakeners were 5 powerful figures: the Ice Witch Mage, Lancer Kim Sang-hoo, the Gentleman, the Blade Queen, and the Magician. These 5 were appointed as protectors, while 3 Grade 1 Awakeners were assigned to special missions. At the association headquarters, President Yu Jinsu joked about his hot drink, but Chaeyeon didn't laugh. She offered to chill it instead, which he declined. The president then asked if the monster plants known as mandragogas had truly vanished. Chaeyeon explained that 13 of them had disappeared without a trace. Since mandragogas release deadly poison and shriek when disturbed, it was strange to think they simply walked away. The president scoffed at the idea. "Plants don't have legs," he said, and added that he would consult Gabby, also known as the Shadow Cat, who had just returned from her mission. Chaeyeon, unsurprised, continued her report. Back at Kang's home, CheolHo stretched and tried to wake Kang, who seemed caught in a nightmare. Mischievously, CheolHo left a red mark on his forehead and laughed. Feeling hungry, he stacked a chair to reach the refrigerator and discovered a radish-like vegetable, actually a mandragoga. The creature screamed but was immediately silenced when CheolHo stuffed it into his mouth, only to spit it out in disgust. When Kang finally woke, joined by Khan, he was surprised to find the fridge completely emptied. Khan couldn't believe that CheolHo had eaten everything. Kang then asked Khan where he had been. Khan explained that he'd been investigating interdimensional cracks and newly formed dungeons. But despite his efforts, he had only encountered monsters familiar from the Espion continent. Concerned, Kang asked to be informed immediately if anything strange occurred. Khan then asked an unexpected question. Could Kang, now a 6th-class master, control dimensional rifts? Unfortunately, Kang admitted that even he didn't know who created them or how they worked. As for how he returned to Earth, he simply said it was a long story. Realizing it was time to shop for groceries, Kang prepared to head out. Elsewhere on the outskirts of Sincheon, Chaeyeon was still searching for clues about the missing mandragogas. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the area. She became alert, ready to cast a spell, when a soft hand brushed her cheek. Floating above was a beautiful woman dressed in a sleek black outfit styled like an assassin. The pretty woman turned out to be Lee Gabby, a level 1 Awakener, famously known as the Shadow Cat. When Chaeyeon greeted her shyly, Gabby responded with a laugh and told her to just call her sister. She asked how long Chaeyeon had been in the field and was surprised to hear it had already been 10 years. In her thoughts, Chaeyeon remained in awe of how Gabby had infiltrated her barrier unnoticed. According to Cypher School, it usually took nearly 30 years to become a top-level Awakener, yet Gabby still looked remarkably young. Gabby extended her hand warmly to properly introduce herself and asked about the current situation. Chaeyon reported that 13 Mandragoga had vanished after the recent gate explosion and the area was currently sealed. When Gabby asked who broke through the barrier, Chaeyon suspected someone above level 3 might be responsible. When asked about the nearest large mercenary group, Chaeyon mentioned the temple mercenaries in Seodaemon. "Let's go there first," said Gabby.
And we'll grab something to eat on the way and regroup with that spear brat I always argue with.
The scene shifted to Khan cuddling with his little sister, showering her cheeks with affection. As he admired her cuteness, he suddenly noticed Kang watching. Embarrassed, Kang asked how much of it he saw. Kang reassured him there was nothing wrong with expressing sibling love. Khan coughed awkwardly to break the tension. Kang opened the fridge and showed Khan a juicy fruit. When asked, Kang explained it was a watermelon, something Khan had never seen before. Then Khan noticed a white lump inside and asked what it was. Kang replied it was a chicken. Irritated, Khan retorted that he obviously knew what a chicken was. Then Kang pulled out the fainted Mandragoga from the fridge, alarming Khan, who asked where he had found it. Kang casually explained that he had plucked it from the ground during a walk. Internally, Kang recalled that Mandragoga absorbed heat and helped cool the body, had a crisp texture, and a sweet taste. He began skillfully preparing the Mandragoga. Khan, puzzled, asked why Kang was stuffing vegetables into the chicken. Kang simply said to wait and see. It would soon become samgyetang. At that moment, Sang-hoo, Chaeyon, and Gabi arrived, drawn in by the delicious aroma. Kang nudged Khan to welcome the guests. When Sang-hoo asked if Khan was a new employee, Kang explained he was one of their cooks. Kang mentioned they were making samgyetang, but Gabi quickly noted that she couldn't eat it because she was vegetarian. When the meal was ready, it was served with kimchi. Chaeyon took the first bite, and the explosion of flavors impressed her. The dish was refreshing and praised all around. Seeing this, Gabi admitted it looked tasty. Kang then offered her some watermelon. She lit up with excitement and accepted. He began explaining a new way to enjoy watermelon, cutting it into bite-sized pieces, placing them back into the rind, and adding sugar cubes and soda like Sprite to create a refreshing fruit punch. Chaeyon used her ice magic to create cubes to chill the drink. Seeing this, Kang realized she was an Awakener. Sang-hoo revealed her title, the Ice Witch. Chaeyon blushed at the nickname, recalling how she had earned it during Cypher School's Battle Royale with her ultimate spell. Kang mused silently, noticing that many big names had started showing up at his restaurant. The pretty assassin lady, Lee Gabi in particular, very gorgeous. Her presence alone proved her power, and she was likely the most beautiful woman Kang had met since the Espan continent. After the meal, Gabi gave her thanks with a charming smile. Later, near the dishwashing area, Khan gushed about how pretty Gabi was, almost unreal. Kang agreed and revealed that she wasn't human. Using his detect eye skill, he had learned she was an elf. He mentioned her skill, Ghost God Dash, something only elves possessed. Khan remained skeptical, noting that elves usually had pointy ears. Kang began to suspect that not only monsters, but also other races had crossed over through the dimensional rifts and adapted to life on Earth. Suddenly, Kang startled Khan and asked him to help make something unique, a new watermelon juice. "Grab the spoon," he said. Outside the Awakener Association building, Sang-hoo rambled about how the Mandragoga disappearance didn't add up. Gabi looked irritated. Sang-hoo questioned who could casually pull out Mandragoga without being noticed. Chaeyon suggested that if even the level 1 Awakener Shadow Cat couldn't find anything, then the answer might lie in an unexpected direction. Gabi agreed, sensing something suspicious. Though there was no evidence yet, she planned to report the matter to the higher-ups. Despite the temple mercenaries showing up, no intel was recovered, only surprising news. Chan Taejung of the temple was retiring. Under the starry night sky, a veteran general gazed upward. He reflected that the world had changed. Modern buildings replaced trees, asphalt covered former grasslands, and the land was no longer fragrant with flowers, but now a battlefield.
With might, he shouted to the mercenary members,
Case closed. Secure the survivors.
As Kang read the news about the temple organization successfully blocking a massive monster invasion, CheolHo held onto his leg, cheerfully calling out "Papa," clearly wanting a hug. She then began reading some words from the newspaper, mispronouncing "today Hashun," but Kang gently corrected her pronunciation and praised her with a "good job, CheolHo." As she continued reading and pointing at words, her stomach suddenly growled loudly. Imitating her stomach noise, she looked at Kang, indicating hunger. Thinking carefully about breakfast, Kang realized it was always a concern to prepare good food while they had the chance. Gazing affectionately at CheolHo, he playfully pinched her cheeks, reflecting on how dragons had much longer lifespans. He then asked CheolHo to wake her older brother, and she toddled happily toward the sleeping Khan, jumping and shouting excitedly right onto his face, startling him awake. Soon, breakfast was served, bibimbap topped with bento eggs. Kang instructed Khan to mix it, and as they ate, the flavors were exceptional. After eating, Kang expressed some concern about CheolHo constantly falling asleep after meals. Khan reassured him, explaining that at 3 months old, it was normal for her to sleep and eat a lot while developing her class. Eagerly anticipating CheolHo's future class, Khan gently lifted his sleeping sister and carried her to bed. At that moment, Manhwa, also known as Mr. Shiksen from Master Sunghu's team, arrived, complimenting the delicious smell of the rice. Requesting some rice along with his usual ramen, Manhwa eagerly dug in, praising the delightful combination. Soon after, Choi, the association agent, arrived, greeting Kang and Manhwa. He mentioned he was only stopping by for a hello and asked for water, noting his energy had recently improved. Choi discussed with Manhwa about Sanghu's current unease due to Chon Taejung's retirement from the temple mercenary group, causing widespread anxiety. When Kang asked why this news was significant, Manhwa explained that 10 years ago, during the Great Invasion at Seodaemun Gate, Chon Taejung had played a crucial role. Although he was officially a level 3 Awakener, his true strength was significantly higher, and he had led the defense that saved countless lives. Elsewhere, Chairman Yu Jinsu was reading the same news when Taejung entered, greeting him warmly. The chairman, visibly shaken, questioned the abrupt retirement. Taejung calmly explained it was simply time to pass on the legacy and responsibilities to the next generation, emphasizing that no one could shoulder everything alone. The chosen successor was a promising level 3 Awakener named Kang CheolHo, expected to soon become a level 2 Awakener. As Taejung stared at the sky, Songhu approached, discussing the true meaning of hope. Back at the restaurant, Kang was chopping mandragoga when Songhu and Taejung arrived. Kang announced today's menu as traditional Korean home-style cooking. Surprised to see Taejung, he noted their similar ages and informed them the meal would take some time to prepare. Songhu, who suddenly stand up and said he was busy, left Taejung to eat alone. Taejung commented on Songhu's immaturity, yet rapid growth into a respected guardian. He asked permission to smoke, praising the nostalgic scent of the food. Kang skillfully prepared side dishes and a hearty soybean paste soup, reminiscent of countryside cooking, accompanied by fried eggs and grilled salted fish. Impressed by the gourmet presentation, Taejung tasted the soybean soup and admired its perfection, feeling a deep sense of nostalgia. This meal brought back vivid memories from 30 years ago when he first arrived in Seoul during the Great Evacuation era, a critical moment in his life. As Taejung shared these memories with Kang, he finished his meal, recalling that difficult past. Meanwhile, Sanghu raced through the streets on his motorcycle,
vividly remembering the final great invasion from 10 years ago.
As the conversation continued, Kang spoke with Taejung about the evacuation era, recalling vividly that it all began 30 years ago when monsters first appeared across the globe. Nations quickly fell under the relentless onslaught of these creatures, resulting in unimaginable devastation and loss of countless lives. At that crucial turning point, Taejung, living in his small hometown, decided to take up arms. With a sword in hand, he discovered and awakened his hidden powers. He immediately stepped into a leadership role, guiding and protecting fellow awakened individuals from his town to seek refuge in Seoul, the resilient capital city of Korea. This heroic journey ultimately led to the formation of the Temple Mercenary Corps. Under their steadfast guardianship, Seoul began to rebuild and recover, giving rise to the esteemed title of Guardian. While the official records identified the nation as Korea, in reality, only Seoul had successfully remained intact amidst the widespread chaos. Just when humanity was adapting to this harsh new normal, another cataclysmic event occurred a decade ago, known widely as the Final Great Invasion. Sang-Hoo vividly recounted his desperate struggle against exceptionally powerful monsters during this catastrophic event. Fighting relentlessly, yet gradually becoming overwhelmed, Sang-Hoo found himself cornered, on the verge of defeat. It was at this dire moment that unexpected help arrived. A figure swiftly blocked the monster's ferocious attack, despite the heavy bleeding from his wounded arm. This person reached out warmly to Sang-Hoo, offering words of wisdom with a gentle yet determined smile. "If you cower, you'll spend your whole life stuck in retreat." This profound encounter forever solidified their bond. At that time, Kim Sang-Hoo had just stepped into his role as a guardian. Taejung, witnessing Sang-Hoo's courage and potential, commanded him to observe carefully as he showcased the true extent of his own power. With a gigantic monster bearing down on them, poised to crush everything beneath its colossal feet, Taejung unleashed an extraordinary, devastating counterattack, slicing the enormous creature cleanly in half. With unwavering conviction, he declared, "This is the path we carve out ourselves." In the present day, Sang-Hoo visited a familiar hilltop, knowing this was Taejung's preferred place for rest and reflection. He arrived prepared to protect the area by eliminating any lurking threats, yet found the area completely peaceful, devoid of any monsters. This left Sang-Hoo feeling helpless and overwhelmed by emotion. Tears streamed down his face, as he realized there was no immediate danger he could face to support or honor Taejung, leaving him feeling powerless. Back at Kang's restaurant, Taejung spoke thoughtfully, explaining he had lived without regrets, yet acknowledged the heavy burden of always needing perfection. Even a minor mistake could cost many lives. Listening carefully, Kang understood more deeply that what seemed like immaturity in Sang-Hoo was actually a reflection of the heavy pressure learned from Taejung, aiming for flawless performance, a standard that was emotionally exhausting. Curious about Taejung's future, Kang asked if he planned to return to his hometown. Without hesitation, Taejung affirmed this decision. When it came time to pay, Kang gently informed him the meal was on the house, causing Taejung to remark on the restaurant's uncommon generosity. As Taejung rose to leave, Kang softly mentioned that Sang-Hoo had grown into a truly fine guardian. Taejung, deeply moved, warmly agreed, acknowledging Sang-Hoo as being like a son to him. At sunrise, Taejung dismounted from his motorcycle on the familiar hilltop, gazing thoughtfully at the rising sun as he quietly declared, "I'm back." Observing from a nearby hilltop, Sang-Hoo silently bid farewell, tears flowing freely as he softly uttered, "Take care, old man." Meanwhile, the fox cub emerged cautiously, fondly recalling the gentle kindness of Kang and CheolHo, convinced they posed no threat, and seeing Kang as a genuinely gentle soul. Suddenly, a voice echoed in Kang's mind, calling him by his old name, "Miro! Miro!" Recognizing it instantly, Kang responded, "Lantero, are you awake?" Memories surged, transporting him back to a fierce confrontation against the Demon Lord army on the Espan continent. In that intense memory, the Demon Lord accused Kang of summoning him into their dimension, a claim Kang dismissed firmly as nonsense. Clad in his golden gauntlet, Kang prepared himself, engaging the Demon Lord directly as powerful magic clashed in fierce confrontation. The sheer intensity of the memory jolted Kang awake, drenched in sweat. Spotting Khan nearby, visibly trembling, Kang asked urgently what was wrong. Terrified, Khan explained the palpable killing intent radiating from Kang had frightened him deeply. Immediately apologizing, Kang revealed that despite the decades since the war's conclusion, haunting nightmares still plagued him, possibly stirred by recent conversations about Seoul's great invasion. Reflecting deeply, he concluded that it likely wasn't mere coincidence that his battle with the Demon King aligned with Seoul's greatest crisis. Gazing contemplatively at the sunrise streaming through his window, Kang hoped fervently never to encounter the Demon King again, uncertain of what the future might bring, but determined to remain vigilant. When Kang went to the living room, he finds the little dragon, Cheol, doodling all over the floor. He playfully facepalms, thinking that at moments like this, she really is just a kid. He walks over to inspect her art, and Cheol excitedly shows him her today's menu. Kang tries to decipher the drawings, guessing one creation with hands might be a mermaid. He affectionately calls Cheol a little rascal and scoops her up. The dragon immediately grabs his cheek, happily calling him Papa, which makes Kang's heart melt. He strikes a deal. He'll cook her favorite chicken for dinner if she erases all the drawings. Just then, Khan appears and is shocked by the mess. Kang immediately puts him on cleaning duty, telling him to teach Cheol how to tidy up. But Cheol couldn't care less about Khan and continues to call for her Papa, which leaves Khan feeling totally sidelined and bummed out. The scene jumps to a market where Kang is buying a ton of chicken. The shop owner comments on the huge amount, and Kang wryly thinks to himself that it's for a big eater. The owner mentions a festival-like vibe in the air and points him toward the plaza. Curious, Kang finds a massive crowd gathered around a giant golem that's going through a test run, with smoke billowing from its robotic hands. He's watching the spectacle when Lee Gabby spots him. She happily explains that she's there for the test run of the newly developed Ogre, a rideable golem powered by mana crystals. She gives him the lowdown. It's a beast against large monsters, but sucks against smaller, faster ones due to its clunky movements. On top of that, not just anyone can pilot it. She reveals the pilot is a gear walker, the level A awakened, Kim Hun. Piloting a golem, she explains, requires a special constitution to channel the massive energy from the mana stones. As Kang listens, he internally critiques the golem, thinking that while it has potential, it must cost a fortune. Still, he admits it could revolutionize mana stone engineering. Deciding he's seen enough, he tells Gabby he's heading out. She quickly confirms his restaurant is open and promises to visit him soon. That evening, Kang returns home and is completely floored. A water spirit is just chilling in his living room. Khan proudly explains that Cheol has awakened as a spirit master. He then goes off on a long tangent about his family history, but nobody is listening. They're all focused on Cheol, who has been lifted into the air by the spirit and is now calling it Mama. Kang is taken aback, identifying the creature as a high-grade spirit, an undine. A quick lore drop explains that spirits are summoned from another dimension, and that Kang's world is one of 4 interconnected realms. His brain struggles to process all the complex info, so he cuts to the chase and asks Khan if he at least taught Cheol to clean. Right on cue, the Undine uses its water abilities to perfectly wash away all of Cheol's drawings. Seriously impressed, Kang decides this calls for a celebration party. The scene cuts to Kang frying up a mountain of chicken. He hands the first drumstick to Cheol, who dives in with pure joy. Seeing this, Khan declares he can't take it anymore and lunges for a piece. Kang stops him, jokingly starting a lecture about how a person's choice of chicken reveals their true nature. But before they can eat, they discover that Cheol has already devoured the entire plate, bones and all. Khan is devastated. Luckily, Kang anticipated this and reveals he made a second batch. He decides that while he'd normally have soju, an occasion like this calls for only one thing: beer. As Kang and Cheol enjoying their chicken and beer party, Khan compliments Kang on his impressive skill at cleaning chicken bones. The good vibes continue as fireworks suddenly light up the night sky. Khan initially panics, thinking a war has broken out, but Kang calmly explains to a delighted Cheol that they're just fireworks. Watching Cheol's fascination, Kang reflects on how she's always been cooped up inside the restaurant. He asks Khan when Cheol might be able to use her polymorph ability. Khan figures that since she's awakened her class, it should be possible soon. The scene continues to a hangar, where the ogre golem is undergoing repairs after its test run. The pilot, Kim Hun, is giving orders to the crew. He eventually heads to the changing room, where he finds his so-called sister, Lee Gabi, waiting for him with a proud smile. She starts gassing him up, congratulating him on his performance and saying she wanted to see how much he's grown as a pilot. Hun, however, just mutters that she's acting like a real grandma. Complaining that he's starving, Gabi chimes in that his big sis has already found the perfect restaurant for them. Hun is totally thrown, pointing out that she's way older than his own mom. Gabi playfully threatens him, saying it sounds like he's asking for a beatdown for calling her an old hag. Their banter continues as they discuss the restaurant's location in Seodamun, which is near their colleague Sang-hoo's neighborhood. The conversation then gets serious as Gabi brings up the new monocrystal they used in the ogre, noting its performance was off the charts. Hun figures it's probably because it came from a newly appeared dungeon, but Gabi clarifies that this is where things get super sketchy. She explains that the source was a cave-type dungeon, packed with high-quality monocrystals, but, weirdly, had 0 monsters. That's a huge red flag. To make matters worse, she adds that the sky above the cave was glowing with an eerie light, looking as if something was about to pour down at any moment. Then, the story continues with a thoughtful monologue, when Kang recalling the treasures that lost during the fight with the Demon King and how other dragons have always avoided him. He clutches a necklace, a mana radar, and notes that it's detecting a massive source of power nearby. The scene shifts to front of a cave, where a team of Awakened, led by Sang-hoo, is in deep trouble. Kang watches from a clifftop as all hell breaks loose. What was supposed to be a simple mana crystal mine has turned into a death trap. A massive dimensional crack rips open the sky, and a gate spews out hordes of pig-like monstrosities. Sang-hoo orders his team into Formation D, identifying the enemies as Level 6 combat-type pigs. They throw up defensive shields, but they're already on the back foot. Sang-hoo is faced with an impossible choice: save the civilians and team members behind him, or rescue his comrades trapped near the massive kingpin boss monster up ahead. He freezes, the immense pressure of command weighing on him. He remembers his mentor's word, those words about true strength being the courage to take one step forward in the face of fear, give him a second wind. Filled with new resolve, Sang-hoo declares he will become a true hero and leads a desperate charge with Formation A. He fights like a man possessed, but is quickly running on fumes as more and more monsters pour from the gate. As the Kingpin charges him, he unleashes a final, powerful attack that completely obliterates the beast. Exhausted, he orders his team to evacuate the wounded, but their relief is short-lived. A second Kingpin emerges from the gate. It's a punch to the gut. Sang-hoo tells his team to dig in and pray that reinforcements arrive in time. Just as they're about to be overwhelmed, something unbelievable happens. In the blink of an eye, every single monster is wiped from existence. The battlefield falls into a stunned silence. Sang-hoo, utterly bewildered, helps a wounded teammate, Kim Man-ho, and orders a full retreat, wondering what on earth just happened. The camera pans up to reveal Kang CheolHo standing alone on the clifftop, having just saved everyone without breaking a sweat. He muses that no one on Earth could possibly figure out his true identity. He also notes that the intense battle has caused Sang-hoo to break through his limits, achieving the Master Stage and becoming Korea's 4th Level 1 Awakener. Just then, Kang's stomach rumbles loudly. "Welp," he thinks. "Guess we should eat first." The scene cuts back to Kang and Khan trying to build a campfire. Kang effortlessly gathers a massive pile of firewood in seconds, leaving Khan speechless at his monstrous strength. Just as they get a good fire going, Kyul wakes up and, wanting to play, summons her water spirit. The spirit promptly creates a rain shower, dousing their fire completely. Kyul looks incredibly proud of herself, while Kang and Khan share a deadpan, defeated look. After finally getting the fire relit, they start grilling Kingpin pork belly. Kang stops Khan from digging in and shows him the proper way to eat it: a sam, or meat wrap. While they eat, Kang gets serious. He asks Khan if he's still investigating the dungeons. He then reveals what he saw earlier. The pig monsters had evolved at an unnatural, impossibly fast rate. The pieces start to click into place for him. He tells Khan the energy from the rift wasn't from the Espan continent. He theorizes that Earth may be connected to a third unknown dimension, and that something big, something completely beyond their understanding, is going down. That night at the Korean Awakener Association, where Sang-woo is debriefing with his superior about the dungeon incident. He reports that the monsters vanished in a flash of light, an account that lines up with what Gabby reported from a previous event. The association leader congratulates him on breaking through his limits and officially becoming a master class, Korea's 4th level 1 Awakener. Sang-woo jokes about getting a salary raise but quickly gets down to business, insisting his team get a proper bonus. He then reveals he's chosen his new class, Heart of Steel. He explains this class will grant him a second life and eventually make his body as tough as steel, turning him into a proper tank. He reflects on the recent battle, admitting they were lucky not to be wiped out. He's determined to become strong enough to protect his team so they never have to face a situation like that again. The leader tells him Gabby is handling the investigation and that he should get some rest. As he leaves, Sang-woo thinks about the mysterious light that saved them. He notes that it felt warm and strangely familiar, just like a past incident involving the chicken monster, Beltos. He concludes that both cases involve the emergence of an unparalleled power and can only hope that power isn't hostile. The scene cuts back to Kang CheolHo and Khan's afterparty, where they've moved on to Soju. Khan asks if the Demon King was truly powerful. Kang confirms he was an absolute beast, but adds with a smirk that he, of course, was stronger. The mood turns serious when Khan asks if Kang hates the Demon King. Kang opens up, explaining that he despises the Demon King because his army slaughtered all the precious people who had helped him when he first arrived in the other world. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't save them. He recalls the bloody war that dragged on for years, leaving him with no comrades by the end. This triggers a flashback to his final battle. He remembers the Demon King revealing something that changed everything. He hadn't invaded the continent by choice. Just like Kang, he had been summoned there by someone else. Back in the present, Khan, trying to process this, asks the logical question. If they were both summoned, how did Kang ever make it back to Earth? Kang explains that after the war, he spent 10 long years searching for a way home. Just as he was about to give up, a massive dimensional gap opened right in front of him, showing him a view of the modern world. That was his ticket home. Khan senses the deep pain in the story and tells Kang he must have had a terribly hard time. Kang agrees and admits something surprising. While he still hates the Demon King, he also feels a bit of pity for him. They were both pawns, trapped in a strange world, a fate he describes as a terribly painful loneliness. They share a drink, toasting to their shared tragic circumstances. Later, Kang is haunted by another nightmare. The narration reveals he's plagued by dreams of the war and the deaths of his loved ones, a pain he describes as nails being driven into his heart. He relies on alcohol just to get some sleep and questions his own sanity. He wakes up in a cold sweat, only to find the little dragon CheolHo sleeping peacefully beside him, a calming presence in the dark. He steps outside for a smoke and is approached by a mysterious old lady who asks for directions to the Arirang train. Kang is confused, as no such train exists, and she wanders off, disappointed. The next morning, his first customer arrives, the man from the association. As rain begins to fall, the customer mentions that the old woman, known locally as Grandmother Arirang, has been seen wandering around. He explains she's a local who collects old things and suffers from deep-seated trauma from the era when dungeons first appeared and many people lost their loved ones. Her quest for the non-existent Arirang train is a sad quirk no one understands. After the customer leaves, Kang watches the rain and reflects. He muses that even though the world is a better place now, it's built on the scars of the past. He realizes that everyone who walks through his door, from the awakened to the old grandmother, is carrying their own wounds. It was this simple understanding, he concludes, that made him leave his old life behind to become a simple cook. In the next morning, while Kang brushing his teeth, Khan can be heard in the background, hyping up the little dragon CheolHo. It seems CheolHo was attempting a polymorph spell but was totally failing. Kang wondered if there was some kind of cheat code to teach the spell, since it looked so difficult. He then got the bright idea to just put some clothes on CheolHo to make her look more human. In the oversized clothes, CheolHo looked like a tiny kid, and Kang estimated she'd probably look about 5 years old when she finally nailed the full transformation. But then, out of nowhere, CheolHo was suddenly enveloped in a blue aura. Bam! Total success. She had transformed into a little girl with white hair. She immediately ran towards Kang, calling him Papa. The little one then slipped, but Kang caught her, leaving her with a happy, beaming smile. Khan, absolutely stoked, picked her up to celebrate her big win. With things under control, Kang announced he was going to prepare some food and asked Khan to sort out some proper clothes for CheolHo. Later, as the rain poured down, Kang stood under an umbrella, thinking out loud about making sweet and sour pork with some leftover kingpin sirloin. His thoughts were interrupted by an old woman asking for shelter from the rain. Being the good guy he is, Kang invited her in for tea, but she declined. Kang found it a little sus that she wasn't using the local accent he remembered her having before. He respectfully handed her his umbrella anyway. She promised to return it and asked if he sold jjajangmyeon. Kang told her to hang on while he checked on ingredients, but when he looked back, she was already gone, sitting on a bench outside in the rain. Kang could only watch her, puzzled. Back in the restaurant, a radio broadcast warned citizens about aquatic monsters called kelpies, which could power up to level 7 in the rain. At the counter, a young man nursing a beer asked Kang for advice on how to appeal to women. This was Kim Hun, a regular customer since his first visit with Lee Gabby. Kang was a bit stumped, admitting to himself that he'd only had one girlfriend before getting yeeted to the other world. Kim Hun then spilled his guts, confessing he'd been crushing on a girl for 2 years, ever since she saved his butt from a hidden dungeon boss. He was totally into her strong and cool vibe. Kang could relate, as he also had a thing for strong women, which triggered a brief flashback to the mysterious girl in his nightmares, who always called him by his old name, Miro Raikas. Kim Hun explained that his love was one-sided because the girl was sharp and knew exactly how he felt. Kang guessed it might be Lee Gabi, but Hun clarified that Gabi was more like a mother to him. Too soft. His type, he admitted, was a woman who would treat him roughly. The girl he liked, however, apparently hated guys like him and had threatened to tear his limbs off if he got too clingy. To make things even more confusing, her supposed ideal type was the spear guy, Kim Sang-hoo. For Kim Hun, it makes no sense because all they did was fight and curse at each other all day. Just as Hun asked for another beer, the radio issued another warning telling people to stay away from a place called the Tomb of Rest for a while. It was a cemetery for the cremated victims of a past dungeon break. While they were talking, a blonde-haired woman walked in. It was the Blade Queen herself, the level 2 Awakener, Lee Yuna. For your information, the highest rank for Awakener was the level 1 Awakener. There is 3 of them, and until now, we only know it were Lee Gabi and our blushing boy, Kim Hun. So this was the girl he had a one-sided love for. But his moment of bliss was cut short when Yuna grabbed his coat from behind, looking absolutely furious. She called him out for getting wasted by himself again and bothering people. Hun, completely shameless, just remarked that she was even more attractive when she was angry, which only made her look ready to shoot laser beams from her eyes. He barely had time to say goodbye to Kang before Yuna started dragging him out of the restaurant. From a distance, Kang watched Kim Hun try to flirt one last time, only to get an earful for his efforts. Kang then recalled the real reason for Yuna's visit. She was on official orders to bring Kim Hun back because a massive swarm of violent kelpies had appeared in the city center, causing serious damage to civilians. Kang had a bad feeling about the whole situation. As the rain continued, Kang caught CheolHo trying to raid the fridge again. As he held her in his embrace, he noticed she still couldn't completely hide her wings and tail. She adorably called him Papa again, and started repeating the word tail. Kang made a quiet promise to her that he would make good memories with her before they eventually had to return to the Espan continent. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Kang quickly told CheolHo to hide since her appearance would definitely freak out a normal person. He opened the door to find the old lady again, asking if he could make her a bowl of jjajangmyeon. Kang patiently asked her to wait while he prepared it. He grew suspicious again, noticing that this time the old lady was talk using a dialect, and her overall appearance seemed different. Using his detect skill, he found out she was 100% human, but was suffering from dementia. It all made sense now. Her nonsensical ramblings were due to the lasting mental trauma from losing a loved one in the past. Just as Kang was thinking it couldn't be helped, the old lady gasped. She had spotted CheolHo, who hadn't hidden her little horns and tail properly. The old lady asked Kang who this little kid. Kang froze, completely dumbfounded and unsure how to explain. In a classic fourth wall break, he told the old lady that if she wanted an answer, she would have to subscribe to Zero Manhwa first. The old woman and CheolHo stare at each other for a beat. When she asks what on earth she's looking at, Kang casually tells her it's just a child. The woman immediately scoops the baby dragon, CheolHo, into her arms, gushing about how cute she is and how she looks just like her little dog. CheolHo even says her own name, which fascinates the old woman even more. Just then, CheolHo's brother, Khan, shows up looking totally terrified, freaking out about why his little sister is with a human. Kang reassures Khan that everything is fine and just asks him to make sure no other customers come in for a bit. He then mulls over the old woman's request for jjajangmyeon. He remembers how it used to be a super common dish you could find anywhere, but these days, the ingredients are a real pain to track down. First, he needs to figure out the style, which requires a fermented black soybean paste. The real problem, though, is the noodles. The local shop is out of stock, so it looks like he'll have to settle for fried instant noodles. He gets right to it, prepping the ingredients, boiling the noodles, and sautéing the meat with onions until the jjajangmyeon is ready. When she sees the dish, she's amazed but says she needs to hurry back to her waiting grandson. Kang gets what she means. He wraps the bowl in plastic wrap, telling her to be careful not to break it and to just bring it back whenever she's in the area again. She thanks him from the bottom of her heart, hands him an old 1,001 bill, and leaves. Kang notes that it's been a long time since he's seen a bill that old, and simply says goodbye. The old woman starts coming by the restaurant from time to get that same dish to go. Kang notices that she's seemingly giving it to a different person each time. And what's weirder, the bowls are never returned. He knows she isn't stealing them on purpose, so he just keeps ordering more dishes. One day, after she leaves, he notices something strange over at the cemetery and decides to check it out. As Kang walks through the grounds, he sighs. Just as he suspected, his own parents' tombs aren't here anymore. Suddenly, he hears a security guard calling out to the old lady. The guard is telling her to get serious. This is a cemetery, not a picnic spot. He points to countless empty bowls piled on a grave and tells her she can't keep bringing food that attracts bugs. He also warns her not to sleep there in a tent, or she'll catch a cold. He gives her one last warning to clear the bowls, or he'll do it himself. From a distance, Kang can't believe she's actually living here. He sees a photo of her husband and grandson. The old lady picks up the picture and a huge, heartbreaking smile spreads across her face. Kang thinks to himself that people don't just smile when they're happy. Sometimes they smile when it's too hard to cry. He knows all about it. He used to do it so often in his past that it became a habit. Later that night, it starts pouring rain. Kang is at the window with CheolHo, who is having the time of her life watching the storm. He tells his little dragon buddy that they'll need to buy her some clothes soon and warns her not to open the window in this downpour. She almost does it anyway, forcing him to rush over. He chuckles, thinking she really is a blue dragon for loving the rain so much. Just then, a radio alert comes on, warning everyone to be careful of kelpies because of the heavy rain. It's a constant warning. Hearing this, Kang gets a bad feeling. He tells CheolHo he's heading out. Without a second thought, he leaps off the balcony and flies away at top speed, that strange, uneasy feeling nagging at him the whole time. Meanwhile, the old lady finds herself in front of a train station, confused about where she is. She sees that the Arirang train is boarding. As the train pulls up and stops, the doors slide open. A handsome man in a hat beckons her to get on. She smiles, thinking he's good-looking, but still has that country smell. A little boy appears, and she's overjoyed to see her grandson again. But when she looks back at her husband, she's startled. She can't remember his face anymore. Her memories are fading, the world turning blurry like an old photograph. It makes her sad. Suddenly, she's back in her tent, and the world is black and white. A monstrous kelpie slithers into her tent, opening its massive jaws to devour her. But before it can, bam! Kang appears out of nowhere and obliterates the monster with a single punch. He had predicted the worst-case scenario, and is just glad he made it in time. As he stands over the shattered bowls, he hears screams calling for the old lady. Kang, like a flash, fly into the sky. The security guard is left totally confused, swearing he saw a kelpie. The spear mage from the association arrives and, after finding a monster core, confirms there were definitely monster traces in the cemetery. Judging by the giant puddle on the ground, he figures it must have been a huge one. He wonders if this is the work of that same unknown force that's been helping them. Without wasting time, he orders his team to move the lady to the association headquarters for her safety. As she's carried away on the guard's back, all she can think about is her husband and grandson, frustrated that she can't picture their faces anymore. That night, Kang is prepping some food when the Arirang grandma shows up at the restaurant. She's brought new bowls, saying the old ones broke, and apologizes for all the trouble she's caused. He tells her not to worry about it. He notices she's wearing new clothes and asks if she's heading somewhere. She says she is. Kang gets a thoughtful look and invites her to have a meal before she goes. He asks if jjajangmyeon is okay, and she says it's perfect. He figures he has enough ingredients, planning to use instant noodles again, but then he gets an idea. He asks if she's in a hurry, and when she says no, he tells her to please wait just a little bit. He immediately starts kneading dough from scratch. He knows that proper hand-pulled noodles need a long time to age, but he doesn't have that luxury. Still, he figures these fresh noodles will have a much better texture than the fried instant kind. When he's done, he brings the beautiful dish to her. She's speechless for a moment. She starts telling him about her life as a farmer, and how her husband was a good man who always spoke with a city dialect, which she eventually picked up herself. Once a week, they would take their grandson into the city to eat jjajangmyeon. She smiles at the happy memory, saying how they were content just watching their grandson eat. Then, her voice grows sad. She admits she can't remember their faces anymore. They're just blurs in her memory. She confesses that she's scared of forgetting them completely. Suddenly, Kyul comes running in, shouting "Grandma!" and immediately asks for some jjajangmyeon too. Kang is happy to oblige and quickly whips up another bowl. Kyul tells her grandma to eat up. Aang picks up her chopsticks but just stares at the dish. Kyul, with her mouth full, asks why she isn't eating and says it's delicious. This snaps the old woman out of it, and she takes a bite, confessing that it's truly wonderful. After they finish, she asks for the bill. Kang asks if she's really leaving, and she confirms that it's time for her train. He nods and tells her the meal is on the house, explaining that the restaurant always offers free food to people who are about to go on a trip. Surprised and touched, she thanks him with a warm smile and leaves the restaurant to continue her journey. Kang and Kyul watch her go, looking up at the sky as if saying goodbye until they meet again. He reflects on how everyone follows their own path. A father living for his daughter, an old hero choosing retirement, a man chasing pure love. Today, it's the lady's path as she departs on her final journey. In her mind, the old woman is running after the train, begging it to wait. Her shoes fall off, but she keeps running, breathless, trying to understand why she's chasing it. Inside the train, she sees smiling faces: her first daughter, her second son, and her grandson. She's amazed to find that she remembers all of their faces clearly now. Finally, she reaches the train door and sees her husband, his face perfectly clear. A huge, relieved smile spreads across her face as she tells him, "Let's go." She couldn't wait any longer. In reality, the lady is lying peacefully on the ground at the cemetery. The security guard runs to her side and, after realizing she has passed, begins to cry. But he's also emotional because even in death, she has a huge, beautiful smile on her face. He believes she finally caught the Arirang train she was always talking about. He then notices a fresh plate of food and a money note left on her husband's grave, wondering who could have left it there. Flying high above, Kang watches. He knows he can't hold on to someone who has decided it's their time to leave. He admits that with his power, he could have easily extended her life, but he also knows that sometimes just living can be a cruel fate. Meanwhile, back at the association office, the Spear Grandmaster, Park Sang-gu, is trying to connect the dots on all the strange happenings in the city. The cases of the high-level monsters being mysteriously taken care of. He knows there's a supreme being out there, someone beyond imagination, but they're acting silently and without any malice. An idea hits him. Could it be Jaeger, the legendary hunter who disappeared 10 years ago during the Great Invasion? He quickly scratches that theory. He personally saw Jaeger drag the boss monster into a self-destructing portal, a sacrifice that saved countless lives. Publicly, Jaeger was one of only 3 S-rank hunters in Korea, and there's no way he could have come back. His next wild guess is that the association has a secret rank 0 hunter, basically a god-tier being. Frustrated, he throws his papers in the air. Ever since the magic stone mine appeared, high-level monsters have been pouring out of dungeons. It feels like this mystery person is single-handedly preventing another great invasion. He wonders why he's stressing about it so much and decides to focus on more urgent matters. He knows their biggest problem right now is a specific guy, pointing to a file on Ryushin, the younger brother of the legendary hero, Jaeger. At the Hunter Association headquarters, on the director's desk, the staff tell him that it contains the report on this quarter's graduates. The association director picks it up, asking if these are the so-called Rookie 3. The staff confirms, noting that this year's first quarter graduates from the Cypher School were exceptionally talented, especially a trio of standouts. The first is Kim Mi-jin, a 17-year-old level 3 healing type. The director notes she has a high probability of upgrading to level 2, and her father is on Master Sang-hoo team. But Jen Kark, the person in charge of Seodamun, already have a healer, so it's better to send Mi-jin in the Gentleman of Seocho. Next up is Lee Ju-myung, a 20-year-old level 3 fire-type magic user. Director sees he has applied to the Hongdae branch and figures they can send him to the Blade Queen's team, since they happen to have an opening. He scratches his head, saying the real problem is the last rookie, Ryushin. He's a level 2 close combat user with a werewolf ability, giving him the codename Werewolf. His potential for growth is off the charts, but the director points out 2 major issues. First, he's the younger brother of the legendary level 1 awakened Jaeger, who went missing 10 years ago. And second is the director sighs, asking if that little punk has been stirring up trouble again. The staff confirms that he's been challenging mercenary captains all over the city, declaring that whoever beats him, he'll join their crew. The problem is, no one can beat him. She reports that he has already defeated the captains in 4 major districts and is now on his way to Seodamun. The director curses, wondering why a kid in this day and age is running around doing group sweeping. The scene shifts to Kang, who is in his restaurant thinking about dinner. He was planning on making stir-fried pork, but realizes he's out of the high-quality kingpin meat he usually uses. He wonders what monster meat would be a good substitute. Looking through his inventory, he questions why he has so much meat from big pigs. He wonders if their population is suddenly increasing, connecting it to the creatures he saw back in the Magic Stone mine. He makes a mental note to keep a close eye on the situation. As he heads out for errands, he passes a children's clothing store, which reminds him that he needs to get some clothes for Kyul. He enters the shop and asks the clerk if they have anything for a 5-year-old girl. Just as an employee says they do, a loud voice booms from outside, challenging the captain of temple, Kang Hyuk, to come out and fight. Kang recognizes the name. Hyuk is the new captain of the temple mercenary corps, who took over after the famous Cheon Taejung retired. He then wonders who the blonde kid making all the noise is. The kid, Ryushin, dramatically introduces himself as a level 2 awakened, who turned down the association's offer to become a mercenary. Kang hilariously wonders to himself why this kid's intro is so over the top. Ryushin issues his challenge. If Hyuk can beat him, he'll join his mercenary group. Someone from inside the temple building yells at the kid to get lost, but Ryushin just scoffs, taunting that the great temple mercenaries must be scared of him. He mocks them, saying that now that their legendary captain is gone, a coward has taken his place. Suddenly, the door bursts open as Kang Hyuk kicks it down. He's a big, intimidating guy, and Kang immediately thinks he looks like the perfect successor to Cheon Taejung. Hyuk glares at Ryushin, annoyed that some kid is disrespecting his former captain's name. He dismisses Ryushin, telling him to go play in his own neighborhood. Ryushin just laughs, saying that when the tiger retired, a fox took over as captain. That's the last straw. Hyuk instantly appears before Ryushin, holding a sword to his neck, telling him it's time to shut his mouth. Thrilled, Ryushin's energy flares as he tells Hyuk that this is what he was waiting for. He transforms into his werewolf form and lunges to attack. Just as their fight is about to begin, a spear of pure purple energy slams down between them, stopping them in their tracks. Park Sang-hoo watches them, sighing that there's never a quiet day in this city. Kang, observing from the street, just chalks it up to youth and passion, thinking to himself that the next generation is growing strong, like sprouts after the rain. Later, 3 of them are coming at Kang's restaurant. Sang-hoo explains to Kang that they settled things the old-fashioned way, saying that using weapons or abilities would be cheating, and that real men solve things with their fists. When Kang asks who won, Sang-hoo smugly replies that in a fight, experience can sometimes matter more than raw power. He tells the other 2 to sit down and order some soju and stir-fried pork from Boss Kang. Kang says that's perfect, as he was planning on making it anyway. As he cooks, Kang narrates his process. He emphasizes that the most important part of stir-fried pork is to have plenty of meat, not a bunch of vegetables. Since he's cooking for 3 big guys, he decides to make enough for 5 servings. He prepares a special sauce and quickly finishes the big pig stir-fried pork. The massive, delicious-looking dish is placed on the table, and even Ryushin is shocked for a second before turning his head away stubbornly. Sang-hoo stands up, says he's already paid the bill, and tells the other 2 to work things out themselves before leaving. Kang mentally grumbles that he deliberately made 5 servings, and one of them just left. Ryushin quietly admits defeat and declares that he will join the temple mercenaries. But Hyuk pours himself a drink and bluntly tells him they don't need him, so he should get lost. Ryushin is shocked, arguing that he's a level 2 awakened and that everyone else wants him. Hyuk takes a drink and tells him not to assume his little world is the entire universe. He says Ryushin needs to learn that he isn't as special as he thinks he is, and only then should he come back. Hyuk gets up to leave, but Ryushin, looking embarrassed but also incredibly impressed, scrambles after him, respectfully asking him to wait. Watching them go, Kang smiles to himself. He thinks that with talent like that, this generation of the temple mercenaries is going to be unbelievably strong. His smile fades, however, as a troubling thought crosses his mind. As the hunters get stronger, so do their enemies. He looks at a news report about the increasing frequency of dungeon appearances and knows he needs to investigate more carefully. Then, he looks back at the table, sighing that he made 5 servings of food and nobody even touched it. The next morning, Kyul wakes up and looks around. A cute expression crosses her face, as she remembers what his brother Khan once told her: always bathe before sleeping and after waking. She summons a friendly water spirit, which happily gives her a bath. Afterward, she looks at the sleeping Kang and gently pats his cheek, saying, "Papa, you bathe too." Her eyes then fall on the new clothes Kang bought for her. She hops down and toddles around, singing about eating, but then her attention is caught by a strange, shimmering red gate that has appeared in the room. Confused, she walks towards it and curiously reaches out her hand. The moment she touches it, she's sucked inside, vanishing completely. All that's left behind is one of her tiny shoes lying on the floor in front of the gate. The scene kicks off in a dungeon labyrinth where Kyul is having a total main character moment, just vibing and singing a tune with her water spirit, Undine, floating beside her. Her cheerful stroll stops dead when she runs into a massive minotaur flanked by 2 demonic cows. The cows immediately see red and charge straight at her, but Kyul, bless her heart, just stands there with her arms open, ready for a hug. Her Undine, however, is not having it. It goes full-on protective parent mode, engulfing the charging beasts and the minotaur in a massive wave of water, yeeting them into the air while drowning them at the same time. Kyul just innocently pats one of the unconscious cows on the head, completely unfazed. The minotaur, though, shakes off the hit, still ready for all the smoke, and lunges at her with the clear intent to unalive her. Just as it's about to connect, BAM! A fist smashes through the dungeon wall and rocks the minotaur square in the face. Kang comes in clutch, arriving just in time. He looks over at Kyul and sighs, muttering that raising a kid is seriously no joke. He turns to the minotaur, who looks up absolutely terrified, and recognizes him as Miro Lykas, Kang's name from his past life. Kang gives a slight smirk, telling the beast it's got a better memory than a dragon, and calls it out as a soldier from the Demon King's old army. The minotaur starts tripping, like, "Nah, bro, you got the wrong guy." But Kang isn't playing. He instantly snaps off one of its horns, and the minotaur immediately starts spilling the tea. The terrified creature confesses he was one of the soldiers who escaped with the Demon King through a dimensional rift 10 years ago and has been hiding out in this labyrinth ever since. Kang gets straight to the point. "Where's the Demon King?" The minotaur swears the last he knew, the big boss was taking a decade-long power nap to get his strength back. Using his detect ability, Kang confirms it. No cap. The creature asks if Kang is here to invade the demon realm, but Kang just calmly explains that this whole labyrinth is now on Earth. He gives him the rundown of the final battle, how even after mastering 6 classes and teaming up with an elder ice dragon named Aramid Ranthro, they only managed to get the Demon King to half health before he dipped through a portal. Kang notes that a beast like this minotaur is considered a legit boss here, which means even beefier threats could be on their way. Right on cue, Kyul tugs on his shirt, complaining that she's hungry. Kang's whole demeanor shifts back to dad mode. He scoops her up and tells the Minotaur, "All right, listen up. I've got a job for you." Back at the restaurant, Khan watches Kang prepping food and asks what's on the menu. Kang stays locked in, silent while he works. In no time, a steaming pot of meat is ready. Khan says it looks fire and asks what it is. Kang reveals it's oxtail he recently acquired. Khan then spots a pile of Chongyang chilies on the side, pops one in his mouth, and immediately starts glitching, literally breathing fire from the insane spice level. Just then, a young woman walks in with a bouquet. She introduces herself as the owner of the new flower shop across the street and gives Kang the flowers as a welcome gift. The amazing smell from the pot hits her, and she asks if she can get a bowl. Kang, ever the gentleman, tells her to have a seat. While she's waiting, she sees the chilies next to Khan, who's still trying to recover. But as she looks, the chili suddenly stands up on its own, and an onion starts walking. The veggies are literally alive. Kang instantly uses his detect ability and sees her class is plant regeneration, a skill that can make plants grow or even move. He flashes back to the war, remembering how someone with this class created a massive wall of rose vines that completely shut down the demon army's advance. It was totally OP. Back in the present, Kang looks at her and says, "You're kind of a problem, you know that?" She immediately starts apologizing, thinking she's in trouble. But Kang softens his tone, adding that it's the first time he's ever seen someone who loves plants so much they feel bad for eating them. At that moment, Lee Gabby walks in, greets Kang, and then spots the girl. "No way, is that the flower girl from the gentleman's team?" The flower girl tries to hide, pretending she has no idea what Gabby's talking about. Gabby isn't letting her off the hook, teasing her about why she ghosted her team in Seocho to open a shop all the way out here. The flower girl just bursts into tears, confessing that she totally fumbled the bag in a dungeon. Gabby's vibe shifts from teasing to curious. The girl explains that their last mission was in a dungeon full of plant monsters, and she just couldn't bring herself to hurt them. Because she hesitated, her older brother got injured protecting the team. Gabby nods, praising her for at least owning her mistake. She confirms that the flower shop is the girl's actual childhood home. Then she gives her some real talk, saying that running away from your problems isn't the move. The girl agrees, realizing she needs to go back and apologize. She tells Kang she has to go and tries to pay, but Kang says that if she has any good seeds for farming, he'd take those instead of cash. Gabby is left looking totally confused, wondering why this kid just called her ma'am. The flower girl is ecstatic and promises to bring Kang her absolute best seeds. Just then, another man enters, the gentleman, her team captain. He walks right up to Gabby and greets her, also calling her ma'am. Gabby immediately tells him to stop. He just brushes it off and tells the flower girl there's no time to waste. A new dungeon has popped up. She still hesitates, but her captain says he's already accepted her apology and will agree to whatever she wants. She replies that she's useless and will just mess up again. The gentleman steps closer and tells her it's okay because everyone makes mistakes, even ma'am over there. He then scoops her up, saying they got a dip. He looks back at Kang, mentioning that Master Sanghu told him great things about this place and that he'll be back to eat next time. As he leaves, he yells back that Gabby will cover their bill. A defeated Gabby just sighs, completely drained. She then notices Khan acting super weird. Kang realizes it too. Khan has been frozen in place this whole time, just staring. Khan quickly hides behind a wall. A few minutes later, Gabby pays her bill and leaves. After she's gone, Kang asks Khan what's wrong with him. Blushing, Khan can only think about how gorgeous Gabby is, realizing he's completely fallen for her. Kang is flabbergasted. "Since when?" he asks. Khan just admits it happened right then and there. Maybe it was love at second sight? If you enjoy, don't forget to subscribe. I need your help, dear viewers. Alright, then Kang pops back over to the labyrinth portal to check on his new employees. The place is looking pretty open, and he's low-key wondering if the whole ecosystem is getting a glow-up. he spots the Minotaur and his demonic cow crew, who are actually out there plowing a field. Kang's gotta ask, "Yo, are you guys vegetarian by any chance? 'Cause, not eating people is a big plus." The Minotaur swears they're herbivores now. Eating humans was just a phase. Kang inspects their farm and asks what they're growing. When the Minotaur just says, "grass," Kang gives him a look, and the big guy quickly clarifies they're growing apple and pineapple seeds, though these are some weird, nut-like apples and fist-sized pineapples. Kang shows them a bag of real-deal earth seeds like cabbage and carrots, ready to upgrade their whole operation. But then, his eyes land on a shady-looking cabin. "What's in the box?" he asks. The Minotaur gets all sweaty like, you're not gonna take that, are you?" Kang immediately throws the door open and hits the jackpot. It's a stash of seeds, weapons, and war spoils from the old invasion. While rummaging, he spots something shining bright. Using his detect skill, he realizes it's an ocean tear, a super rare treasure from the mermaids. This thing has some serious lore. Legend says it was given to a poor farmer who wished for rice, and boom, rice for days. Then some greedy schmuck stole it, sailed out to sea, and was like, "Gimme infinite salt." The jewel was like, "Aight, bet," and filled his boat with so much salt it sank to the bottom. And that, kids, is how the sea got salty. Kang knows this legend is the real deal, and pockets the item, thinking it'll be perfect for the restaurant. He tells the Minotaur to eat well and get strong, 'cause they'll be seeing each other a lot more. After Kang dips, the Minotaur is having a complete meltdown. He's thinking, "My horns grew back, but the trauma is forever." He starts connecting the dots. The Demon King is on a century-long power nap, and this Kang guy is raising a little girl with horns and a tail who has to be a dragon. He's now 100% convinced Kang has already conquered the world and is building a dragon army to invade the demon realm next. Terrified, he rallies his troops, screaming, "We gotta be useful to survive! Get to work!" Meanwhile, Gabby arrives at a brand new dimensional rift, and this thing is an absolute unit, the biggest one they've ever seen. But when her team steps inside, crickets. The place is dead empty. Gabby gets a seriously bad vibe, like they just walked into a predator's mouth right after it finished its meal. This isn't just a dungeon, it's a zero-grade trap. A Class 3 alert is issued, and backup, a guy named Hoon, is called in. Cut back to the restaurant. Khan is dressed to the nines, looking super slick, and nervously asks Kang if he looks strange. Kang is like, "Nah, you look fresh, but what's the occasion?" Turns out Homeboy has a massive crush on Gabby and knows she's coming. Right on cue, she walks in, and with zero chill, Khan marches over, whips out a flower, and blurts out, "Marry me." Gabby is just stunned. "Is that for me?" she asks, before gently letting him down. "Sorry, sweetie, I don't date younger guys." It's exhausting. Ouch. Total rejection. Kang facepalms, drags his lovesick brother into the back, and apologizes to Gabby, saying his nephew is sick and talking nonsense. Thinking fast, Kang decides to bust out his new toy. He whips out the ocean tear and commands it to sprinkle the perfect amount of salt on a sliced watermelon. He serves the watermelon salad to Gabby, who takes one bite and her eyes go wide. She can't believe how good it is, feeling her energy restored and fatigue melting away. She thanks Kang and warns him to be careful about the new alert before leaving, adding that he should find his cute nephew a nice girl his own age. After she's gone, Khan is totally crushed. Kang tries to comfort him, admitting that when it comes to love, race doesn't matter, and hints that he went through the same thing once. Then he gets hit with a sudden flashback, a memory of a beautiful girl with long, snow-white hair. This was Aramir Lantero, the great ice dragon. He remembers her telling him that their time flowed differently. "Don't waste your life waiting for me," she had said with a sad smile. "Go live." This wasn't just some old flame. This was the dragon who made the ultimate sacrifice to help him bring the Demon King to his knees. The memory still clearly hits Kang hard. Snapping back to the present, he looks at his brother. "Dude, species doesn't matter in a relationship," Kang says, speaking from painful experience. But before Kang can explain, they both feel it. A nasty, bloody aura flooding the city. It's the same stench Kang remembers from his battle with the Demon King. Back at the rift, it's game on. A terrifying vampire demon appears, ordering her monsters to eat every last one of them. Gabby's team forms an iron defense, but the vampire shatters their barrier as if it were glass. The support team from the Temple Mercenaries has arrived to help. The demon then gathers all the blood into the air, spreading a thick red mist that blinds everyone. All hell breaks loose as Hoon desperately fires his robot's cannons into the fog, trying to clear a path. He asks if Sang-hoo is okay, joking to himself that he could win Yuna's heart if Sang-hoo were gone. Hoon continues to fire at the vampire, but she has already transformed into a liquid and is trying to escape through the gate. Sang-hoo isn't having it. He puts all his power into one massive spear strike that literally splits her in half. "Close the exit!" he screams, and the defense team scrambles to form a massive magical barrier to trap her. The situation now favors humanity. The vampire, whose name is actually Sofrin Lise, is starting to panic. She just barely recovered her power from the war 10 years ago, and these humans are way stronger than she expected. Just as the barrier is about to break under the weight of her demon horde, Gabby pops up behind her. "Time's up," she says. Gabby lunges with her dagger, but the magical barrier seems like about to broken. Gabby got distracted and the vampire goes full liquid mode, turning her body into blood to phase right through the attack. She slips past the barrier and makes a break for the portal, thinking she's home free. Big mistake. She runs face first into Kang, who was just waiting for her on the other side. He doesn't even break a sweat. One clean slap, and it's lights out for the vampire lord. With the situation handled, Kang opens his private dimension and summons his goblin butler, Kasim. Kasim pops up like, "What's good, boss?" And then his jaw hits the floor. In Kang's hands is Sofrin Lise, one of the 4 legendary demon lords. Kang just hands her over and is secretly impressed. 0 casualties, he thinks. These Earth Hunters are legit. He leaves a level 1 magic stone at the portal entrance as a spoil of war for the team to find and then dips into his private dimension. So, quick lore drop. The Demon Kingdom is run by the strongest dude, the Demon King. Under him are 4 OP generals, the Demon Lords, including Sofrin. They were steamrolling everything until a certain hero named Kang CheolHo showed up and forced the Demon King to retreat and take a century-long power nap. Sofrin wakes up in a dark void, and bam, she's face-to-face with Kang. He lays it out simple. You've got 2 choices, life or death. Let's talk. Is the Demon King still sleeping? She looks at his face and is completely shook. "Miro," she whispers, recognizing his name from his past life. "How are you still so young? I waited for you to get old and die." Kang stands up, ready to end her for being so loyal to the Demon King. She immediately panics and spills the tea. The big boss is still asleep and will be for another 90 years. Kang's detect skill confirms she's telling the truth. He then asks how she ended up on Earth, and she claims she was teleported there by accident. Wrong answer. Kang's internal lie detector goes off. "This time you die," he says with an ice-cold tone. She panics again and confesses the truth. She high-key wanted to find and kill him. He realizes someone is intentionally opening these rifts, pulling stronger and stronger demons through. After getting all the info, that the Demon Kingdom is in chaos, and the other 3 lords are also recovering, he tells her this is great news. She thinks she's about to be spared. Well, kinda. He grabs her by the collar, keeps his promise not to kill her, and yeets her straight into his private labyrinth. She faceplants in the dirt, and Kang calls out, "Mino! Got a new coworker for you. Show her the ropes." The Minotaur sees Sofrin Lise, a freaking vampire lord, and almost has a heart attack. He immediately starts whispering his conspiracy theories to her. Dude, he has dragons as servants. Those powerful humans? They have to be his minions too. Sofrin starts freaking out, thinking Kang must be an immortal god. Their chatter is cut short when Kang appears. "If you 2 don't stop gossiping and get to work," he warns, "you'll face instant death." And just like that, orientation begins. After some day pass by, all right, it's time for a surprise inspection. Kang pops back into his private dimension, the Minotaur's maze, to do a vibe check on his new employees, and he is not impressed. Why does everyone look so weak? He mutters. His eyes immediately land on Sofrin, who's in the middle of something. Sofrin Lise, what are you doing? He asks, his voice ice cold. She jumps, totally busted, and sputters his old name from his past life, Miro Rikas. She immediately goes into full-on panic mode, pleading with him. I did my best. Really? I worked hard and tried to eat a lot. I didn't even try to escape. When Kang presses her on why she's been eating so much, she confesses, eating a lot and building strength is the rule. So I worked hard to suck blood, too. Fun. Meanwhile, the Minotaur is having his own body image crisis, complaining to Kang, even if I eat a lot, I just get fat. What should I do? Kang just sighs, completely done with this crew. You're an exception. And put on some clothes. It's a new rule. But it turns out Sofrin wasn't just getting a snack. She reveals she's been leveling up her skills. By using hell cow blood as fertilizer, she's managed to grow a whole garden of superpowered vegetables. She explains her blood-sucking ability isn't just for fighting. She can purify blood, separating it into a pure liquid with healing properties and an impure liquid that works as a poison. She's not just a vampire. She's a walking potion and poison incorporated. Kang is low-key impressed. He looks at her new garden and thinks, someday I'll find a use for that ability. That someday turns out to be right now. Since the plant ecosystem is good, he says out loud, let's use this as restaurant ingredients today. Cut back to the restaurant, where Kang walks in with a fresh bowl of the new magic veggies. Khan and Cheol are slumped over the table, with Khan looking totally drained. Seeing this, and remembering how diligently Khan has been working, Kang suggests, how about we take a few days off? Cheol immediately shows Kang a picture of the ocean, begging him to take her there. Kang agrees, and Cheol smiles, showing her gratefulness by performing a full-degree bow. Kang finds this hilarious, and knows it must have been Khan's idea to teach her that. So, how does this OP family get to their vacation destination? They don't take a car. They just yeet themselves into the sky. With purple energy flaring, Kang grabs Cheol and tells Khan to hold on tight. They blast off right from the middle of the city, main character style. As they're soaring through the clouds, Khan is totally vibing, grinning as he says, "Ooh-ah!" Flying in human form just hits different. Kang holds Cheol close and she gives him the biggest, happiest fanged smile, proudly declaring how brave she's been. Then they see it. Kang's eyes go wide as they break through the clouds to a stunning coastal view. This is... he starts, completely in awe. This world's ocean. They touch down on a beautiful sandy beach, and Cheol immediately starts running around, ecstatic. In the past, this was the most crowded beach, but it became a lawless zone because of gates. So much for a relaxing day off, huh? While Cheol plays near the shore, Kang asks Khan if he's going for a swim, teasing him. Is it awkward for a Red Clan member? Khan just shrugs, admitting, I don't really like water that much. I don't hate it either, though. A fire dragon not liking water? Shocker. It looks like this beach vacation is about to get a lot more interesting. Kang then opens a portal and calls his goblin butler, Kashim. Find the fishing rod I got from the eastern continent, he commands. Kashim knows exactly what he means. The legendary Taigongguang's fishing rod. With the glowing OP rod in hand, Kang explains to a curious Khan that it's a reward he got from a bunch of immortals. The best part? It catches huge fish even without any bait. And Kang doesn't just fish. He makes it a whole spectacle. He creates a chair out of pure energy and floats above the ocean, casting his line. It's a total flex. But as he waits, he gets quiet, remembering the immortal who gave him the rod. He gets deep in his feels, thinking about how waiting is supposed to clear your mind. But for him, only regrets remain. That heavy moment is immediately shattered when all hell breaks loose. A massive tentacle monster erupts from the water, hooked on his line, and Khan is in the background screaming, "What's this?" But while Kang is wrestling a kraken, Cheol and Undine have zero chill. They're just playing in the water, with Undine trapping other monster fish in water bubbles for Keel to play with. A few minutes later, Kang is standing on the shore with his massive haul, including several toothy fish. Kang identifies it as adult German fish. "Too bad, it doesn't taste good," he says. He then turns to Keel and pats her head. "But you did well." Even in a monster-infested wasteland, he's still in full-on dad mode. So, Kang's got this giant kraken, but he's a chef, not a barbarian. He explains that while normal squid can taste nasty, this magic kraken uses mana to float, making it tender and perfect for gourmet tier cooking. He decides to whip up something special: butter-grilled kraken legs and fresh kraken sashimi. The food looks absolutely Michelin star, and the family digs in. Khan is trying not to burn his mouth, and Keel is right there demanding her share. A moment later, she's sitting happily on Kang's lap, munching on a massive skewer. Delicious! As the sun sets, the beach lights up with a magical glow. It's a swarm of luminous, glowing bugs from the Espan continent that feed on the salty air. This is yet another sign that the barrier between the worlds is getting thinner. He's hit with a sudden, somber flashback to his childhood. He remembers his father, a man from Busan who missed his hometown. On the nights he came home late, he'd bring squid sashimi and a bottle of soju. The memory is crystal clear. A young Kang sitting quietly beside his dad, sharing a late-night meal. He remembers graduating high school, thinking college would be the finish line. After returning from his mandatory military service, he was thrown into the chaos of a brutal job market. When he finally graduated college, he says, hell unfolded. He felt lost, without the dreams everyone else seemed to have. The world called him incompetent. By the time he turned 30, he gave up on the dream of a big corporate job and bought a train ticket to Noryangjin, with a new, more realistic dream: becoming a level 9 civil servant. And that brings him back to that night with his father. Over that salty meal, his father looked at him and said the one thing he needed to hear: "The path you're taking is right." He made a promise to his father that he would succeed. But in the end, Kang never came back home. Suddenly, he's pulled back to the present. Khan is looking at him with concern. "CheolHo, is something wrong?" Kang snaps out of it, a gentle, distant smile on his face as he looks out at the ocean. "No," he says softly. "It's nothing." The scene cuts to a high-speed chase in eastern Seocho. A criminal known as Beast is fleeing by car after stealing 30 level 4 magic stones and hundreds of level 6 magic stones. He's heading straight for the lawless zone. As Kang, Keel, and Khan finally made it home, Kang gave Khan a nod. Get Keel tucked in. With the house quieting down, Kang's mind turned to dinner. "All right, what's on the menu tonight? Kraken salad? Nah, maybe just some blood sausage? Let's do this right." He decided to go all out. He expertly sliced the kraken into bite-sized pieces, tossing them in a seasoned mix of flour and salt. With a splash of cooking oil, he dropped them into the deep fryer, pulling them out and plunging them back in for a perfect double fry at a blistering heat. And done. A plate of flawless kraken tempura sat on the counter. Kang popped a piece into his mouth. Crunch. Nailed it. Crispy on the outside, tender and moist on the inside. Just as he was thinking a cold beer would hit the spot, he noticed something moving in the yard. A stray cat. Except, this thing was huge. Built like a tiger cub. He took a closer look, checking the cat's status. Whoa. This was no ordinary stray. You've got to be kidding me. Has it been eating magic stones to get this big? He knew that was a death sentence for most animals. They couldn't handle the raw, untamed power. It was only advanced technology that made magic stones safe enough for daily life. Out in the wild, they were basically poison for living things. Kang softened. He boiled a few pieces of plain kraken and offered them to the cat. For a creature that looked so intimidating, it was surprisingly gentle, eating every last bite. While glancing through the newspaper, a picture caught Kang's eye. Some magician named Hondo Kyung. The article called him the Guardian of Gangbuk, a hero who had survived the great monster invasion. Hondo Kyung. Kang thought back, racking his brain. He was sure he'd seen the guy's face somewhere before, but he just couldn't place it. Shrugging it off, he continued reading until another headline jumped out at him. Giant cat attacks plague city outskirts. That reminded him. He looked back toward the yard where he'd left the food. The giant cat was long gone, and its plate was licked clean. The next morning, a racket from the kitchen woke Kang up. He walked in to find Kyul laughing her head off. Khan stood over the stove, looking frustrated. "What's all the commotion?" Kang asked. "The stove's busted," Khan grunted, trying to boil water directly with his magic-infused hand. CheolHo chuckled at the sight. "Dude, relax." He casually explained that all Khan had to do was grind up a few low-level magic stones and feed them into the stove's power slot. As Khan got to work, Kang heard a familiar sound. Meow. It was the big cat from last night. It had returned, and it dropped a dead mouse at Kang's feet. A thank you gift. Kyul's eyes went wide. "Is it a tiger?" she whispered in awe. She crept closer and gave the giant feline a brave hug. "I'm going to call you Hodol." "Hodol," Khan chimed in, smiling. "Yeah, that name's a keeper. It suits him." A moment later, Kyul was scrambling onto the cat's broad back for a ride. As she was gently patting Hodol, the cat suddenly hissed and bolted. A massive shadow fell over the yard. A giant eagle had landed, and a well-dressed gentleman was dismounting from its back. "It's been a while," Kang said calmly. "Indeed," the gentleman replied. "I was hoping for something light to eat." Just then, 2 more people arrived. The gruff temple mercenary captain, Hyuk, and a fresh-faced new recruit named Ryushin. "Yo, Kang!" Captain Hyuk called out. "Got anything refreshing?" "We're beat." Kang surveyed his guests. Refreshing. Light. "Okay, I got just the thing." He decided to serve them a chilled kraken soup. Captain Hyuk poured a bowl of rice into his own cold noodles and started digging in with gusto. "Man, this hits the spot," Hyuk exclaimed between mouthfuls. Kang just smiled. Then, Hyuk turned to the gentleman with a serious look. "So, are you here to catch the cat that's been attacking civilians?" "That's right," the gentleman confirmed. "It's probably because of those guys from the last incident." Kang's curiosity was piqued. "Spill it. What incident?" The gentleman began the story. "It started a year ago. A real piece of work. This thief hijacked a transport carrying high-grade magic stones, level 4s and 6s. After that, he just vanished. We've been having a hell of a time tracking him down. No name, no age, just a street name. Beast. They call him that because of his skill. He can control animals." The story jumped back to the chase a year ago. "Box him in!" the gentleman had ordered his subordinate. "We can't let him flee into the uninhabited zone." Vines and roots erupted from the road surrounding the transport vehicle. But Beast was ready. He unleashed a massive flock of crows to screw with their vision, and the agents watched in horror as the crows began swooping down, snatching the glowing magic stones in their beaks. "Surround the vehicle now," he commanded. But then, a giant cat leaped out, followed by another and another. He realized he'd been outplayed. They were completely outnumbered by the animals under Beast's control. Then he saw it, a sickening glow coming from inside the cats. They were eating the magic stones. The chase ended in total failure. Beast stood proudly on the vehicle, a nasty grin on his face, before disappearing into the chaos. "It was a huge failure. Recovering those stones became our top priority." The gentleman's voice was grim as he returned to the present. "So, Beast was feeding those cats level 4 magic stones. There were 30 of them in total. We managed to capture 26, but all of them died. The power was too much for their bodies. These stones give them a momentary power-up, but in the end, it kills them. Now my priority is to deal with the other 4, which means I have to kill them when I find them." "Any idea why he's doing all this?" Kang asked. "What's his game?" We think he's trying to build something, but nothing's confirmed. The problem is the foreigners, the Awakeners who operate illegally in the uninhabited zones. They make intel a nightmare to get. The gentleman stood up, leaving payment on the table. Well, I'd better get going. I need to catch those cats before they become even more hated by the public. I'll be back. The temple captain and his rookie left at the same time. Later, as the gentleman walked through the forest, he found the remains of 3 other cats that couldn't handle the magic stone's power. Suddenly, his eagle let out a sharp cry. The big cat, CheolHo, stepped out in front of them. The gentleman was stunned. This cat's condition was perfect. It looked healthy, even strong. He was curious, but CheolHo remained aggressive, growling if he came within a certain range. This is a real headache, the gentleman thought. The case was supposed to be wrapped up. His professionalism told him what he had to do, with no room for pity. This was the right thing to do. As he stared the cat down, his own cold, determined face was reflected in CheolHo's wary eyes.